Hello everyone. In this video today I'd like to talk a little bit about the challenges of language acquisition, learning a new language, and I'm going to be speaking in English today because in order to reach a more international audience. And so for me, I've been studying languages for about 16 years. I started around when I was 16, and the two main languages that I really focused on were Chinese and Japanese. I dabbled in a number of other languages too, but those two, I was really passionate for China and Japan, so I really wanted to focus on those. When it comes to learning a new language, there is a lot of challenges that you might face, and you might get discouraged at times, but, I'm here to spread the message that even if you do get discouraged, don't give up, because I've seen students give up. They think they can't handle the tones in Chinese or whatever it is they can't handle, and they're just like, I give up. And I mean, that's okay, because maybe it just wasn't their life path, but, if you're really passionate for it, you shouldn't give it up. So, I started studying Mandarin when I was 16, and, Mandarin is a really different language from English, right? So Mandarin has tones. They have 4 tones. They have a completely different writing system. And, the grammar's different too. Not always completely different, but it's usually different. And so your brain has to make a lot of adjustments to learning that language. And, at first, it can feel kind of awkward. Like when you're first learning a language, the code switch can be difficult, like when you're switching back and forth. You might have to really think at first. Actually, you probably will if you're just learning. You really have to think consciously. But over time, the more fluent you get, the more natural it comes. And like now, I switch into Chinese. Like when I'm speaking English, I'm only thinking English. And when I speak in Chinese, I'm only thinking in Chinese. But I'm able to make that switch really quickly. And so it comes very natural after a while. But it does take time. It'll take you at least years. For me, my fluency has gotten better and better over the years. Speaking it for 15 years now, it's still improving. You're always kind of growing. So some of, the challenges, like I said, is that you'll run into concepts that are different, that don't really exist in your language. Like, for example, in Chinese, so we don't have, in Chinese they have 4 tones. They have sheng diao, as I say in Mandarin Chinese. They have first tone, second tone, third tone, and fourth tone. And, even though I believe every language has inflections, it's not to the degree in which Chinese has, because in Chinese, the inflection of your voice, the tone of your voice, can change the meaning of the word, right? And anybody who studies Chinese knows this, okay? Because it's a very quintessential part of the language, right? So if you say, 我去那个地方，去 is 4th tone, right? Or if you said like 我去那个地方, that's not right, right? So the inflection of your voice can change the meaning of the word. And in my experience of going to like Chinese courses and stuff like that, like I've seen some people who just really don't get it, who really can't understand that there's a difference between ma and ma and ma. It's just mind-boggling to them. And that's, I guess it's just the way their brain works or whatever. Some people just don't get it. And so some people just give up. Not everybody who starts studying language is going to continue it. And, I mean, same for me. I mean, there's been languages I started and I didn't continue. But more of it had to do with the fact that I wasn't really as invested, because I was putting a lot of time and effort into Chinese language. Because it's just something I really wanted to focus on. So, yeah, and over time, you might you might have already studied for a number of years, and you might be getting frustrated because you think, I'm not as fluent as I want to be. And, I've been in that place, and, you have to remember that you have to have patience. It does take time to be fluent in language, and even if you study for 8 years, I mean, it's like being a native English speaker. There's still times where I can't understand what people talk. Like, it's like when people talk on the phone, like, it's not always clear. Like, for me, I've always, had a hard time, for some reason, understanding people on the phone, because, like, the quality of phone conversation sometimes is like, it gets all buzzy or whatever. And like I used to get discouraged when I was talking to, like, I was speaking in Chinese, and like it's like I could hear you in person, but like once speaking over the phone, like I can't understand what you're saying. I used to get really discouraged, and I used to think, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. But really, that's not the case, because I could also not understand a lot of times in English what people were saying. You're just not there, and the quality isn't that great. So you have to remember that sometimes the issues that you think you have in studying another language, you already face them in your mother tongue. And it's not really so much because you have bad fluency. It's more so due to the fact that it has to do with like a circumstance that's out of your control, right? So I think it's easy. It is easy to get discouraged. I've gotten discouraged many times, studying languages, just because you're not always where you want to be, right? And like I said, like there's still things in English I don't understand. I might be a native speaker, but like Shakespeare, or sometimes like there's different accents. Like I went to the barber the other day, and I was the barber cutter, whatever you call him. He was from North Carolina, and I could understand what he was saying for most of the part, but like he kept on using phrases that I'd never heard of, and I'm like, he had to keep on repeating what he was saying, because I could not understand like what this guy was trying to get at. So there's so many variables to a language, and so you can't think of it in black and white. You can't think, oh, I'm not doing good, I'm not making progress because I still can't understand what these people are saying. No, I mean, you'll notice that you are making progress, and like I said, it's not quick, it's not overnight. Like, you can't really become fluent in 2 years. I mean, you might think you are, but I don't think so. I mean, somebody who's learning their native tongue doesn't become fluent in 2 years, right? It takes a while. So you really have to be patient with yourself. But continue to learn. Like, my issue that I used to have was that, like, when I ran into a word I didn't know, I used to get really frustrated. I'm like, okay, I've already studied this language for 6-8 years. I should know this by now. But you need to stop that frustration, and you just need to look up the word. Okay, we live in a day and age where we have Google. I mean, this didn't always exist. I mean, yeah, they had libraries before, right? And then before that, they had people who told stories or whatever. You had to go to your friend or whatever, your tribesman, whatever. But now, like, there's really no excuse to not learn or not be able to learn something. It's all at your fingertips. So, if you see something and it really confuses you, just look it up, and then you'll know. Everything is learnable. Everything is look-upable, right? So, that's another thing that I want to mention. And, if you really are passionate for a language and you really want to become fluent, just don't give up. There's going to be times where you'll feel frustrated. And still, for me, I still get frustrated sometimes. And that might not ever go away. But in order to alleviate that a bit, you just have to kind of be patient with yourself and remember that, and the other thing, too, is, like, my biggest thing was, like, I used to be a huge perfectionist, and I would be so afraid, you guys, to make mistakes. You need to get over that, because it's okay to make mistakes. Once again, even little children, right? They're learning their first language. They're going to make mistakes too, and then their fathers or their mothers correct them, right? Your friends will correct you. It's no big deal, but it's like, for me, I used to get like really, I would ruminate about it, and like if one of my friends said something about it, I would even get offended sometimes. Be like, well, you know what? I guess I'm not that great at this language when I've worked so hard. But no, that's not the case. You're just a human being, and people make mistakes, and it's okay. And really, in order to have true fluency, you have to make mistakes. Okay, you can't not make mistakes. You need to allow yourself to make mistakes in order to grow. It's part of the growing process. So just don't be afraid of making mistakes at all. So yeah, those are my thoughts for today, and hopefully you guys excuse me, enjoyed watching this video. Learning a new language is really gratifying, because in my experience, it really opens up your world to so many different people, so many different ideas that you probably wouldn't have experienced being monolingual. Not that there's anything wrong with being monolingual, but it's fun being bilingual or trilingual, or how many lingual you speak. So, just my main message I want to get out today is that don't get discouraged. And even if you do get discouraged, you know, just remember that it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not understand what people are saying. You can ask them to repeat, or you can look up a word, you know, and just keep on studying. And eventually you will reach fluency to the point where you're like a native speaker. You know, just take some time. So, you know, just keep those things in mind. And so, yeah, hopefully, you know, hopefully everything works out in the end. So, thank you guys once again for watching this video. And, you know, I'm not really sure how often I'm going to upload. Pretty much I upload when I get the ideas in my head. So it might be maybe, I don't know, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. I don't know. But, you know, for now, just stay tuned for more, okay? Have a nice day.